Hey Rioters, we're going to play some serious poker tonight and try to get rid of some burdens by getting boons, and I think every dev is stuck on a debug quest from hell. Grab the bats and Molotov cocktails, it's episode 184.2 of Indie Game Riot.
It's 184.
What did I say?
No, you said it right.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to clarify that it was not .2.
Yeah, no.
I know what I told you.
Josh said it could be any episode number I wanted, so... Indie Game Riot!
Everybody, I am Josh, joined once again by Rev and Vance for episode 184 of...
Point two.
It's 184. He
Point
took
two.
I made a joke saying it could be whatever episode he wanted it, whatever number he wanted it to be, and of course he took it literally, because I should know this. I've known him since, 2014?
2014 or so, yeah.
Yeah, so I should know this by now. But, 184 of Indie Game Riot. And just another friendly reminder, I'm going to continue to do it forever. It will haunt your dreams. The Indie Revolution Expo is coming up. Sign up your games. Sorry, I thought it sounded like someone was behind me and it freaked me out. Sign up your games, sign up your presentations, your talks and everything like that as soon as possible so you can get the time slots that you want. And share with all your friends, all your game dev friends, all the people that just like games. It's not, you don't have to be a game dev to be there. It's for everyone that likes indie games. So go ahead and go to indierevolutionexpo.com for more information. We'll cover a little bit more later on as well at the end of the show, just to remind everyone, because again,
Call to action works. SEO.
I need to hire for someone for SEO. I can't be bothered. That's not true. I do kind of look at it, but then I'm like, I got too much other crap to deal with. But anyway, just a reminder for that. How have your weeks been, sirs?
Exhausting. I played Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
I don't remember you being a Final Fantasy boy.
Okay.
I don't remember that. Maybe, you probably did mention it at some point.
Yeah, no, I have always loved Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy X.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So
I know. Like, I have played most of them. Those are the only ones that I like.
I watched pretty much an entire playthrough of the original Final Fantasy VII because my friend, you see him in the chat, Whizfish, every once in a while, but he, that's like his favorite Final Fantasy and probably one of his favorites all time.
Yeah.
But the only ones I've ever played, I played 10, and then I got stuck on, there was like a part where you're like in an airship and there was a dragon. And this was like a long time. I was in college when I played this. And I got stuck.
You're about a third of the way through at that point.
I was way under leveled and I can't do anything about it. Yeah. So I'm just stuck there. I never finished it. I played some 11 and that's about it. Once it started going online, I was like, fuck this. Because I was trying to get
I never played any of the MMOs. The other ones, like, was it 13 was okay. I played through. Yeah, no, I played all of them except the MMOs. But yeah, I only have a couple that I like. So
people have been saying the new stuff's really, really good, but yeah. How about you, Vance? How have you been?
Good. Yeah. Finished Enshrouded.
Yeah.
With my brother.
Wait, is there a game
early access? Well, no. I mean, what is available in the early access we finished, which is supposedly about 25% of the game that they're planning. So, looking forward to them adding some more.
That's
to continue
crazy.
Playing it.
That's crazy because it's already a huge game. honestly, when you talk about like
Yeah.
the map and the things that you.
Well,
gotta
the
do.
map, all the black parts of the map are not places that you can get to yet. So it's just like that bottom corner that you can get to before you reach as far as you can go in the early access.
It felt like I mean, we didn't even explore everything, and it still felt like we were exploring a big ass map. And that's what's crazy to me is that it's not unlocked yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
the map is a nice decent size. Yeah.
Hmm.
So did that. Been working on the collectible card game that I've been working on for a while on and off, but I'm back on working on that full time. It's set in the same world and universe as the adventure games in Artovia. So it has that shares that story. So I've been working on that. Pretty excited about the progress on that. So that's what I was working on right before the show. I shut down Unity and popped onto here. So,
nice. You got to keep us updated on it. I didn't know you were working on a card collecting game.
yeah, that's fun.
I got one thing I forgot to mention. We when we talked about Clem a couple of episodes ago, I said it was like there's like 25 things to collect, and each one of them is its own loop within the thing. Yeah, I was wrong. I got to the I was on the last one. There's only 5. That's why so many people were saying it's shorter.
525. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it shows you 25 in the big book, and it's very easy to assume like each one of those is tied to the thing that you're supposed to be collecting. So it was very easy to assume that the game would contain all of that. But no, it doesn't.
well, it's our. I can't think of the word when you make a correction for like journalists.
Is it a retraction?
Yeah, that sounds right. I think so. So there's our first retraction of 2024.
Bam!
Speaking of games that we covered, I next time, Vance, that you're playing Nightingale, see if I'm around. I know our time differences are pretty far off, but man, I really want to get into that.
Yeah, I'm not very far into it at the moment. So yeah, if you want to jump in, you wouldn't have missed much.
All right.
So yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? What'll wake us up since we're all tired from our lives? A nice little hit of an indie news injection. This week on Indie News Injection, we are going to talk about real quick, or I should say announce, Outlast Trials is finally fully released. So anytime we get an early access game that fully releases, I just want to remind everyone that it is a good game because we covered it, and everything we cover is 100% awesome. That's not true, but mostly. There have been a few games that just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth, unfortunately. But that is the risk with early access. Not the risk with Outlast Trials, because it's 1.0 today, as of this recording. So, congratulations. Congratulations, Red Barrels, for another quality product. I wish... I don't know how Vance deals with horror. I know he doesn't particularly like it, but I don't know if that's because he's a little bitch, or if that's just because he just doesn't like it.
Oh yeah, no, I have no problem with it disturbing me or anything. The thing I don't like about horror is just simply that so much of it is so just cookie cutter mechanics. Not everything, but so often.
But you might like the Outlast Trials then. I mean, it is. I don't know how you feel about. I know you do play multiplayer games, but it's a multiplayer horror game if you don't remember. And it's just some really interesting mechanics because of that. In general, too, they just Outlast, the whole universe of Outlast, and Red Barrels always puts out quality products since the first Outlast game. You might like it. It's extremely stressful, which is why I want Rev to play it. I wish he had a computer that could run it.
Is it first person though?
It is. Oh yeah.
Okay, because I also don't play first person games.
Yeah, I forgot you don't do that. But Rev, we got a audience.
I'll give it a try. I'll talk to my partner and see if I can borrow her laptop.
Oh man, I don't. Well, it is an expensive game, so I mean,
I think I have it. I'll have to check my Steam, but I think I bought. I buy all of the games that we cover.
That's true. I mean, well, so Outlast Trials. I mean, playing. Not to do another little review of it, but the missions, most of them are pretty long. Like it's a whole thing. I'm talking like a couple hours, man, and it is very stressful. Like you talk about anxiety. I don't want to actually kill you, but
we'll pick a weekend. We'll pick a weekend where like schedules align or something, and we'll like set aside some time. Friday afternoon or something, and you can stream it in our Discord audio so everybody can hear me screaming like a small child.
Maybe we can do it like a fundraiser for a new laptop for you.
For a new
or a gaming computer, so you can finally play.
It's for charity.
Well, I mean, no. Well, it's for Indie Game Riot.
I mean, it is technically charity, so
yeah, we're a non-profit, technically. Not by government standards.
And that we don't make a profit.
Right.
Given that we don't have income, we are very much non-profit.
Right. Should we playing this after your show? We can. It's been a while since we played, so I'm down. All right. So
with that, congratulations. Moving on to less cool news. Corporations fucking suck. And I know it sounds like I'm beating on a dead horse drum or whatever the saying is.
Dead horse drum.
Is it
I had one
punching a frog or whatever? Like throwing rocks at bushes or things. So Warner Brothers Discovery, in their ongoing quest to destroy as much art as possible for tax write-off purposes, as far as we can tell, informed the one-person studio Fireface Corporation that their puzzler game Small Radio's Big Television is going to be retired. They originally published it through Adult Swim Games, but it is being delisted from both PlayStation and Steam by Warner Brothers Discovery. The creator, the everything of the studio, had said that he was just recently informed that this had happened, and so he is making the game free. You can get the PC version for free on his website,
which is really cool.
And he's looking at how to do something similar for PlayStation.
And I don't know if he has like a donate thing going on, or if he's allowed. Like this whole thing stinks. Like I feel like it shouldn't be allowed, but I'm sure there was some kind of language in the contract that they signed that it is allowed. But if he's able to accept like an Itch.io style, like pay what you want type of thing, you should absolutely support
for sure.
That's some bullshit.
And it's basically they're doing this to try and like offset how bad their big live service game was. What was it? Kill the Justice League, Suicide Squad, where you take like all of these comic book heroes and give them machine guns for some reason. And then, like, that's the game.
Well, it was supposed to be, like, when it was being made, it was supposed to be like the Batman games.
It's the same. It's the same thing as Anyways, it failed miserably. We don't yet know if other games like Rain World or Death's Gambit, etc., will be retired. So I feel bad for Fireface Corporation.
The people that own, or the people that run Warner Brothers, I forget the guy's name, but what a fucking
Zaslav.
What a fucking douchebag, man! Like, oh my
David
God.
Zaslav.
What a piece of shit.
I could vent about him for a long time, and I'm not going to because this is Indie Game Riot, not.
Well, the ironic thing is that because you mentioned about. They're retiring these indie games and and things like that, and they failed miserably with their live service game, but they want to basically. I read something a couple days ago where they basically want to stop altogether with single player or like big games like big AAA games and just go with live service, free to play, and or mobile, which is fucking insane.
line goes up is the worst thing to happen to. It's very similar to like Boeing, except when when a video game has a catastrophe, people don't die.
Did you watch the John Oliver thing? Is that what this is from?
I did.
Yeah.
I was going to say, somebody's been watching John Oliver.
That was stuck in my head,
I watch
too.
it every Sunday. I watch it every Sunday.
Yeah.
But it's a good point. Like, I mean, you think about it. You think about like back in the 80s, 90s, even sometimes early 2000s, video games were small budget. Like big budget games were made, and they cost $100,000 or whatever, right? And it was like you could be super creative, you could try new things, and it was never like a huge risk to your studio. Like you could get 30-40 people working for you and have them on 3 or 4 different teams working on 3 or 4 different small games, and it doesn't cost you nearly as much, and they put it out. One of them's a big hit, and that covers everything else and then some,
Yeah.
and so like and then people went, oh, once it started being a thing where people could actually make good money at, that's when the MBAs and the finance bros decided that they were going to stick their heads in there, and like gaming has gone downhill since. Like the quality. Anyways, okay.
You're talking about like since 1985, because that's about when it started becoming a big business.
I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, like it's more like there's the opportunity to do things and be able to do well, and then I don't mean like how to say this, like it used to be gaming was by gaming for gaming, right?
Think about how like Sierra started off.
Yeah, Sierra, they all enjoyed playing video games, and they got together and started making video games, and like that was the thing. And then it was like, oh wait, we can make money on this, and so they make a company.
So
and
they
start...
made ET.
Yeah, like I get you. So they just like kind of go with that, and then bigger finance bros come in and go like, oh well, I can drop, I can buy your entire company and I will make money off of that, and we end up with situations like Blizzard or EA or anything else.
I imagine them all I imagine them all coming in like Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, just like when he's talking to that guy on the speakerphone, just like yeah. Too explicit, I guess, maybe. That particular scene. But you know what? All this anger should be directed into
a riot.
This week we're starting the riot with Balatro. Balatro, it's a surprisingly popular game. I didn't know how popular it was until I heard
really came
that we were covering it. Yeah, and then suddenly, like, everybody's playing it. Like, people I follow on Twitch are playing it that generally only play, one other game or something that I watch them for.
The interesting thing,
Balatro now all of a sudden.
The interesting thing is like how it kind of came about. At least for me, is it was just randomly given to me by my friend Wizfish in the chat there. He gifted it to me on Steam because he was playing it. I was watching him. I was like, what is this? He's like, oh, it's Balatro. And he just sent it to me because it's fairly cheap too. And it feels like this kind of just really, it was like a, not to put a negative connotation on it, but it was like a spark in a forest fire and just kind of spread like that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Burn Texas.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any big ad campaigns or anything for it, so it must have just been huge word of mouth, organic growth. Because and to tell you the truth, I had not heard of it before I saw that we were covering it. But then as soon as I saw that we were covering it, then suddenly I saw it everywhere.
Yeah. Is that the Bader-Meinhof or the? Yeah, that's Bader-Meinhof syndrome.
Oh, when you start seeing everything everywhere after not seeing it ever.
So I will say that I am a big poker player. I used to play semi-professionally. I made a a significant percentage of my income playing poker for a while. I didn't make my entire income playing poker. I still had another job, but I used to play poker. I would play in games live twice a week, and then I'd play online the rest of the time, and I made an actual significant percentage, enough to be worth mentioning playing poker. So I am...
Good to know not to play poker with you.
so yeah, I'm a big fan of poker. This game, however, does not feel like playing poker. It feels like they kind of make use of poker hands because there's something that a lot of people understand already, which is a nice little on-ramp to the game, because most people, I think, know what poker hands are. They know what a flush is, a straight, a full house, and so forth. I mean, I'm sure there are people who don't as well, but
right.
it's knowledge that...
You know what's interesting about that, though, just the fact, talking about the poker hands and everything, I had heard that the people that made this game, the guy that came up with the idea, did really not know much about poker at all. It was, like you said, it was simply a means to an end for his deck building game.
Yeah, because the game is nothing like poker.
Right.
It's not even slightly a little bit like poker. It just uses the poker hands, and they're not even ranked correctly. It's hard to say if they're ranked correctly because your hand is so much larger than it would be in normal poker that I don't know what the actual probabilities of each hand is given the hand size that you're working with. So I'm not sure what the probabilities are, to be honest. So I started out playing this game. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah. That's what I eventually found as well, is that you just go for flushes all the time. Mm-hmm. I was about to get to that. All the same suit. I was about to get to that, because what I was saying is when I started playing, I was like, okay, I started playing like I was playing poker, right? So basically, I would, if I had two of a pair of nines or better, that's a great hand, right? So I would put that down. I was like, oh, nines or better, two of a kind. If I like any trips, right, with anything, I'd put that down because that's a great hand, right? So I was playing it as if I was playing poker. Don't do that. That's a terrible idea. You'll lose real quick trying to actually evaluate hands as if you're playing poker. Largely because you have so many chances to discard, so you can build flushes and straights and things much more easily. But yeah, that's what I also found is just always go for flushes.
I found
you get them often enough.
I had to break my hand, and I'm not like an amazing poker player, but I know how to play poker. But I had to break my habits of mentioning the poker hand ranks, because being that this, I mean, it's more of a deck building roguelike than it is anything to do with poker. It just uses poker mechanics. But I had to break my habits, because I would be like, okay, I have a full house. That's better than
that's
a flush.
Good hand.
Full house is better than a flush.
Yeah.
For those you don't know, full house is three of
the
one
best
card,
hand
two of
except
another.
for four of a kind. Yeah.
Right, or a royal flush or a royal straight flush.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I did get one. The game does not include a royal straight flush, which I don't know if that's an official hand, but
it's not. A royal straight flush is
a royal flush.
Just a flush.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to call it a royal straight flush because I feel like that's even more rare.
So it's just the straight flush that happens to be the highest one you can make.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got that, and it I don't know. It still didn't. The point is that it still didn't score as much as the flush, because in the game you can bump up the ranks of how your hands score.
Yeah.
And there's negatives. Okay, so I'm gonna this is a good spot for a piece of funny news specifically about this game. This game is very much not gambling. You buy extra cards that give you bonuses or negatives and add your multipliers and all of that. You never actually bet anything. You never actually there's no transaction, there's no anything like this. You're just how do I score the highest without getting screwed by whatever? One of the early bosses, it's oh, any any diamond cards are debuffed and give you no money. And then like I just accidentally every card that I got was like diamonds. And I was so screwed. And like I didn't understand that like, oh, I could do this all in one thing. So like I was like, oh, I'll discard the one and then I'll play my next hand off of that. Like I did not understand that at the initial phase. But like you buy additional cards that give you multipliers and buffs and you know they can increase the value of your cards as you play. Like that's all that this is. Unfortunately, it looks kind of like gambling, and so Peggy, PEGI, in the UK, delisted this game on Steam and Nintendo and like all these other places for gambling mechanics, and they're working to get that resolved.
That blows my. If anyone was going to do it, I feel like it'd be Australia because they're so uptight about their shit. The government.
They are, except if you remember, there was that little trend a few years ago, something about loot boxes and how they're really just gambling mechanics. Like the whole gacha economy is just gambling mechanics. Mm-hmm. And that was a really fucking big thing in the EU right before the UK left the EU. So they're like really conscientious right now about gambling mechanics targeting children.
Yeah, that's fair. But but
this isn't gambling.
Yeah, there are no gambling mechanics in this game whatsoever. There's no betting. You place no bets at all.
It doesn't even teach you how to play poker.
Yeah,
it uses poker terms, but like, yes. Go ahead, Vance.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like it'd be the same if you were playing a shooter where the lead character was an ace of spades. Right, that's as much poker as this game is.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I know. So you guys were kind of iffy about it. I think you said before the show, which surprised me. This game is super addictive to me, and I've beaten this game in the sense that I've gotten through all of the antes that were available. Even though you can go past the whatever was it, 8 antes it looks like.
8 or 10, something like that. Yeah,
you can go past that into like endless mode to see how long you last. But I've beaten the game, but I still want to play it. It's still addictive. It's a really nice game to just kind of like when you don't have a lot of time and you don't really want to boot up this like heavy PC. It's going to take a lot of your PC's memory and things like that type of game. This is really nice to boot up and just
it is. And no, it is. It's really quick. It's really simple. Like your average round, like for me, was lasting maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Not even like the full round, just like the each set of hands to score my points, whatever they were. My problem came from I didn't really understand. Like the switch didn't flip in my head that this wasn't poker, and like. I do not have an understanding on the intricacies of poker, and so I'm trying to do that, and it was fucking with me, and that's why I didn't like it. And then as soon as I right before I was playing this today just to brush up, and was like, oh, this really isn't poker, and I started to enjoy it. I just didn't.
You just got to think straight up. It's a strategic game. That's all.
Yeah, it's a puzzle game. It is a puzzle game. Yeah. It is not poker.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I would say that it is an enjoyable game. So I don't mean to say that it is not an enjoyable game because it certainly is. All I was saying before is that I can see myself playing this in short bursts. I can see how someone might get really into it and addicted to it or whatever, but I can't see doing that. For me, it's maybe a little bit too random. Like sometimes you just lose because of nothing that's your fault at all, right?
Yeah, and that's part of like the roguelike aspect of it.
Yeah, sure.
Because,
yeah, so that was a little bit annoying. I don't know, to me it gets a little bit repetitive after a while, but that doesn't mean that I think it's a bad game. I do not think it's a bad game. I had fun playing it for the time that I played it. I got up to the last blind on level 7, and that's the highest I got.
I just wanted to just kind of go over real quick like the mechanics, because we keep saying it's not poker even though it looks like poker. Basically, you start off with the regular, was it 52 card deck, 53? I forget.
Yeah.
And you have a set amount of chips, aka your score, that you need to get every round. And then the hands that you play, which are the poker hands, and that's as far as the poker goes, count towards that score, your chips. And obviously better hands mean more chips. But there's a lot of variables that you add into this, because there are multipliers that you add in. There are these Joker cards.
Joker cards.
Yeah, the Joker cards. They all have different effects. They might add multipliers. They might add chips. They might have things where they'll be like, okay, you can get these other special cards. There's other cards called celestial cards, which are the way that you level up types of hands. Like I said, the flushes were really easy in this particular, with how many cards that you get. So if you level up your flushes, is a really good strategy, because you can get them all the time. And when you level them up, that means more chips, more multiplier. There are Arcana packs, which can kind of help you win certain hands. Like for instance, there's some cards that will be like, you can choose 3 cards out of your hand to turn into diamonds, or whatever the suit is. And if you're trying to go for a flush, there you go. You can. That's 3 free cards in the flush that you can get. So that's basically.
And then you had the pack opening kind of mechanic where you could get randomized cards to add to your deck.
Yeah. You can make your deck bigger than the standard deck.
You end up with a very strange deck by the end of your run.
And some of those cards you can turn into, they themselves will have variables that can multiply. Some of them have mechanics where, like, if you keep it in your hand instead of using it to score, it'll give you extra points. Or if you keep it in your hand the entire time without discarding it or using it to score, it'll turn into a celestial card or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the other closest thing about the poker is like the antes and the blinds. The blinds, all that is, are levels. There's each round
easy, medium, boss.
An ante is a level, and then there's 3 rounds in an ante. The
so
small
they're
blind,
using the terms
blind,
completely incorrectly. They're just using those terms.
Right.
They don't mean anything like what they mean in poker.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's also vouchers that you can get for each ante that will also kind of help you. Again, in the roguelike fashion, it'll be like a permanent upgrade for that playthrough, for that run. And then the last thing is there is money. So there's like a shop between each blind that you can purchase, cards and packs to get cards that help you out and stuff like that. But you get the money through beating the round or the blind faster, and obviously, and there's other jokers and other variables that will also give you money and stuff like that.
What they should have called what they're calling blinds? They should have called that the rake. That would have been more appropriate. That would have been a funny thing if they called it the rake.
What term is
rake,
that?
When you play at a casino, the house takes a percentage of each pot before they give it to you.
Right,
That's the rake. So you have to beat the rake. You have to win enough so that the rake isn't eating away at your profits. So that the real thing is beating the rake.
I've been to one casino in my life, and the only thing I did was play penny slots, and that was that one time I went when we went to Too Many Games, Rev.
Too Many Games.
We stopped by that hotel with a casino in it, and then you gave me like $20 to do, because I was like, I've never done anything. You're like, here, try it, and I won nothing. So thank you for your wasting $20.
I mean, you're at a casino. That's all the money there's a waste. I have never legitimately gambled at a casino, or anything else really. Like, just not my forte. I'm kind of risk
I
averse.
only play poker at casinos. Only. I will not play any other game at a casino because every other game is rigged against you. Poker is the only game that you can play at a casino that it is possible to win.
Even blackjack?
Oh yeah, blackjack is rigged against you. The odds, it is one of the games that you will lose the least money on if you're playing well, but it is the house will actually win unless you're doing the card counting thing. But if you are doing that, keep it on the down low because they will
Break your
keep you out.
fucking kneecaps, yeah. So that's Balatro, a very good addictive game, and
Very fun, and it's relatively cheap.
Don't-
Like that's like we're talking about like no, it's like $15.
Yeah, and don't play it like poker. Play it like a puzzle strategy game. It's a deck builder, roguelike. I will say too, there's one thing in this game that I fucking hated, because like you said, there's bosses at the end of each ante, and there's always some kind of thing negative thing, like you said, where it won't count diamonds or
all your hands are reduced by 2 if you include a face card.
So it's like it does that, and it's a really big score that you have to beat. I was able to get past every single one that I've encountered except for one, and it seems impossible to me. There was a boss where it would draw your hand, and then the deal was that after that hand, every single card you get would be face down. How the fuck are you supposed to beat that?
The way you beat that is, I've beat that one several times. The way you beat that one is you can sort. There's a button to sort by rank. So if you're going the get all flushes strategy, what you do is you sort it by rank, and then you guess based on the placement of the cards. It's not a 100%, but you can kind of guess what cards are what rank, and
I tried that
where they're placed.
I tried that, and it just
it doesn't always work. I was able to beat it a few times doing that, but it does take some luck. It does take some luck.
And I'm sure there's like a card that counters that, like reduces the boss's effect by 50% or something.
There are some things that will counter, like there's things where you can re-roll the variable in the boss in that, which I actually couldn't figure out how to get to work because I got it once and I was like, how do you do it? But whatever. But anyway, that is Balatro.
The other thing that you do with that face down one is you discard and redraw as many times as you possibly can first, right? So that you get the best hand at first, and then if you discard and redraw after that too, then you'll draw the cards face up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no. There's two different ones. There's one that you start off with a face down hand, and it'll do that. There's the other one.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones where you draw. So you draw your hand face down, but then when you redraw, you draw them face up, right?
No, he's talking the inverse of that. You draw them face up like you normally do, and then once you have that card, every card after that is played that you play.
So you're not talking about the one where every round after the first hand you play is face down. So there's one where you get the first hand face up, and then after you play a hand, then all the rest of the cards that you draw between rounds are face down. But I think when you discard and redraw, they're face up. I don't know. In any, I don't remember.
There's mechanical.
I'll have to go back and check. I'll have to go back and check it once.
I'm gonna try.
I'm not 100% sure either at this point.
I'm gonna try and make that call at a casino. Like I'll head out to Morongo or something and be like, I'm sorry, that is an incorrect. That is a diamond that is worth 6 points less.
Just real quick, this is Balatro, developed by Local Funk. And again, $14.99. You can buy there's a soundtrack for $2.99, but I swear to God, there's only one song in this game, and I had to turn it off because it was too repetitive for me.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't just me.
No, yeah. But yeah, so really fun game. And, speaking of getting lucky, I think we should get lucky at the Peep Show. This week on Peep Show, we're talking about Boons and Burdens. Boons and Burdens is a I'm going to call it a survivor type game, for the reason that Vampire Survivors, I think, is the one to thank or blame, depending, I guess, on your opinion, on all these these types of games where you are running around a map in almost like a bullet hell type of situation with a character that has powers that just kind of passively shoot and protect and all this sort of stuff. As you dodge the enemies. Yeah. Active passives. Because you don't actually control the powers, they just happen. That's why I say that.
Some of the powers.
Listen.
It's a shooter. It's a shmup, too. It's like a bullet hell shmup.
Yeah. But it kind of... And then on top of that, once again, there's roguelike mechanics, because the more you advance, the more you can upgrade, and you just try and see how long you can last. Get to the end, if there is an end. Some of these are endless, I believe. But so if you're a fan of Vampire Survivors, you'll probably be a fan of this game. The biggest difference, the way this stands out from other Survivor-esque games, is that, well, it's in the name, it's in the title actually, Boons and Burdens. So you start the level with what you call a burden. You have to choose one out of 3, I believe it is. And it gives you some kind of negative effect that makes the level harder that you have to complete before you can escape the level. So you choose one, say...
That's why.
Yeah, you choose one to say that you're like, okay, I need to... I think what they're doing here is...
There's the one that you have to, like, the first 5 chickens that you eat don't heal you.
Is that what this one is? There's one I was seeing where there are these mines that pop up, and you have to activate them and explode them, and you have to do so many of them. And once you finally do it, whatever your objective is, once you finally do it, then you can escape the level by, if you see that spinning circle right there, that's like the escape portal, I guess you could call it. And but in order to activate that escape portal after you complete your objective, you have to stay in that circle for a certain amount of time for it to activate.
Oh, that's the part that I got fucked up on.
You never got past the first level?
I never got past the first level. I kept dying, and I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. Like, I'm trying different things, I'm trying different tactics, and I'm fucking dumb, people.
Yeah, you gotta. So once you complete your objective, you stay in that circle, and it's difficult, especially on harder levels. The farther you go. And the longer that you're in a level too, by the way, the harder it gets.
It gets harder.
More enemies, more difficult enemies. So it's even harder to stay in that circle, because unlike other Survivor games like Vampire Survivors, you're in this big map that, the camera moves with you throughout this big map. Whereas this is just a rectangle that you're in, and you're just fucking kiting these like a horde of these monsters along. And if you get so many of them, they kind of like clog up the middle, and it's hard to get in there. One thing and it's true for I think most Survivor games like this, to kind of counteract that, is there's usually some kind of upgrade that you can get that will kind of like not just shield you, but like damage. It not only shields you but damages the enemies around you, so it kind of clears a path for you as you go throughout. But anyway, once you complete the level, that's when you're able to choose a boon. And that's the upgrades, the abilities. And so the guy that's playing this right now has, the standard shot. He's playing, there are different classes. So this is like a fire class. He has a thing that spins around him. He has this little like metal thing that pops up every once in a while that once he shoots it, it'll fire lasers out there. You saw it right there. It'll fire lasers at enemies around it. There's like totems that will damage enemies that'll just like sometimes they'll just slam down on them. There's other ones that will like do area damage and things like that. There's obviously, you mentioned the chickens. That's how you heal up as you're getting through, and health is persistent between levels. So if you lose 50 of your 100 health, the next level you're starting with 50 health.
Oh no!
Just be aware of that. So you want to try and get as much health as you can before the level ends. so that way you're not starting off on a bad foot there. As you kill enemies too, they're dropping money, and that's how you get the money to get the upgrades. The more upgrades you purchase, the more expensive they get, and therefore you have to keep killing more and getting further. But the more difficult the enemies are, the more money they drop, and it's just a big old loop. They would call it a gameplay loop, I would say.
Is that what they call that?
That's what the insiders call it. I know, Vance, it's hard for you to grasp, but
so one of the things that I like, this is like this is not a complete game, obviously, right? Like, it's an early access,
right?
But everything about this gives you a really solid taste of what you can expect. Like, you've got 2 playable classes, and like there's over 100 talents that you can choose from as you go through.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of bosses, all of that. But like the end goal for this is to have more classes, more enemy types, more burdens, more, all of that. And I think if they continue on the way that they have with this one, like for here, I think it'll be really solid.
Yeah.
I do wish that the sounds were not as repetitive.
Maybe that's something. I mean, well, let's just say, maybe you should send in some information to them. Type it right now, Rev, on air.
Right now, on air. I am typing.
Send them a suggestion.
Comments by Eric. No, kidding.
Prep in chat was saying that he likes the art, and I would agree. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Like it's a cute, cartoony pixel art, but still kind of dark with the Cthulhu monsters and things like that. Vampire Survivors is a little bit more. It's pixel art, but it was a little bit more Castlevania-y, I would say, in the look of it. So yeah, I really like the art. The one thing I would say I'm not a fan of is probably just how the map is. So maybe they'll add more maps.
Yeah.
Some variety.
I would assume so. Yeah, some variety, maybe some hazards, like environmental hazards.
I mean, they change like the skin of the map, but it doesn't do anything to change the way you play the level. So yeah.
The other thing that I would suggest is play it with controller. I played it keyboard and mouse, and I may just be getting old, but like I did not enjoy it as much. Playing it on controller, playing it on controller was smoother for me. Was easier.
There's pros and cons with that. It's because the whole like twin stick shooter aspect of the control, I can see obviously being on a controller with twin sticks, but something about, because it's easier to move that way, but something about aiming with a mouse just feels smoother to me. I feel like I have more like acute control over everything.
I can see that. For me though, it feels more like I forget which direction my mouse is pointing. Because like with the twin stick, you can just kind of like hold it in the upper right corner and just go.
Right.
But as you're moving around, it'll keep aiming in that. So like if you're doing a loop around the map and you're holding upper right corner, it will always shoot towards the upper right corner. But with a mouse, I can put it over at the upper right corner and loop in such a way that I'm now firing to the left. Like it's entirely possible.
Part of that too is just playing how you play the game, because I think when I first started playing these types of games, I had that issue, and that was less of a control issue and more of a me panicking and forgetting that I had a right hand issue.
The other big one for me is just like there's so much going on screen at some points that it's like I get lost.
Easy to lose track of it,
I can't see where my
cursor.
icon is, my cursor. And so it's just like it's easier for me to be like, oh, if I press up, I'm going to be shooting up, regardless of my orientation.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play this one, but definitely know what you're talking about there. In other games where you, it's easy to lose where the mouse is if there's so many things moving around on the screen. They're like, where is the fucking mouse? God damn it, now I'm dead.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
And it blends in, and it's, you know, like it's still well designed. Like I appreciate what they did, and like I think for some people it would be much easier, but it does not stand out for me.
It's definitely it's definitely a valid problem. Like I get what you're saying. I think part of it too is that the more you play these kinds of games, the more you kind of you focus in on parts of the screen. You learn to kind of ignore, and maybe people with, I don't know if you have ADHD or something like that, but like people with ADHD might have problems with it. Or I know you know, with you being colorblind, it might get lost in the lack of saturation. I should say. But you kind of learn to focus on. It's like driving. You know, you focus on the road at a point ahead of you. You know, and that's where you know where you're going, not like everything that's going on around you necessarily, you know, other than occasional glances. And it's kind of the same way with that. You're focusing on the path that you're trying to carve through all these enemies, and then you also focus. You kind of learn to focus on that cursor as you're aiming, because usually the things that you aim are. You rely on the upgrades, which tend to kind of do whatever they want. You don't have to aim them most of the time. Your basic attack doesn't do a whole lot. It's just there to kind of hit whatever it hits. There is an attack in there that I forget what it's called, but it's like like the fire guy lobs this big fireball and it takes out a good chunk of people, which you do have to aim that. But that's like, it doesn't happen that often. So when you do it, you're like preparing yourself. You know what I mean? Like, okay, there's my cursor there. I'm going to aim it there. So I think there's definitely something to be said with what you guys are saying, but there's also some just practice that you kind of have to get in.
No, for sure. And my quibbles and whatnot are not, you know, indicative. Like I had fun with this. I did not pass the first level. Like completely fair. Like I've tried like 4 or 5 times and could not figure out what I was supposed to be doing. Because that's easier to kite people in big circles as opposed to in the middle of the map.
I am very, very aware that I am terrible at this kind of game. So my experience with this type of game is kind of inconsequential. There's a reason that I did not end up purchasing it, because it would have been I would have been spending money on a frustrating experience.
Speaking of purchasing it, and Prep and Chat just bought it based on what we're saying and how it looks. It's only $5.
It's $5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that saying that, you know, I'm not saying it's just $5. I totally get if you don't want to spend $5 on something that you're not going to have fun with. But if you're just handing out $5, why not support the indie dev? And speaking of the developer, it is from Left Court. From Left Court. So, you know, again, they're... I'm going to transition back to our faces here. They're
we get narration.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there is any. Let's see, what is current state? If they have any like road.
They said about 8. They said about 8 to 10 months. They want to add more classes, more enemies, more bosses, more rogue type elements. Yeah. So I anticipate this one will be going for a while.
So yeah, good job. I can't wait to see again. My personal suggestion, because we of course know that you're listening to this show from Left Court, is that you vary the maps more, maybe expand them. Although maybe that's kind of part of the shtick, is having that such a small map that it makes it challenging, especially since you have to get in the middle. So that's probably part of it. But add some kind of variation to, like, you know, add challenge outside of just the enemies. So that'd be nice. But and then what was your suggestion, Rev? I forget.
Which one?
Oh, the sounds. That's what it was.
The sounds are a tad repetitive.
Perhaps calling them Ubermosh. Is that what these are technically called, or is that just like what the preps of the world are calling them? I don't know. I have not heard that myself. Well, if you don't want to spend $5, you can always just go ahead and check out our free fun game.
VO Games made Debug Quest, and that is today's free fun game. It's single player kind of adventure. I cannot play this game. Like, I barely finished the tutorial level.
You finished the tutorial? I didn't. I couldn't.
It took me several attempts, but I did manage it.
I love
like this little section here.
I kind of personally love the theme that all the free fun games are too hard for you guys to complete, like the intros.
Right? This has been nice. Here's the thing. The issue that I had with this is not like so much an issue. Non-standard controls drive me insane. Like, I struggle with that so bad. So E to move forward, Q to move backwards, and W to jump. Sounds simple. It sounds really simple, and if it was just that, it would be fine. But you also have to play Tetris at the same time with your arrow keys and your A and D key and your space or your down arrow. You're playing Tetris while running and puzzle jumping, and it's too much for my dumb fuck brain to handle at the same time. Like, I just cannot. And it just the Tetris pits are the way that you build your path to get to your goal, all right, like to the end of the level, and that's your only options in some cases. And ostensibly, based on your performance, you can then like build a save file or an application, or a database file that like goes through and grabs, like gives you buffs or debuffs, and then there's a lot to this. And it drives me insane because I want to do so much more in this game, but it is so difficult for me to wrap my head around. I can't. Everything about this game screams that it would be great for me, but I can't play it because the controls drive me insane. It's cute. I like it.
I'm gonna rename this podcast to Old Man Yelling at the Sky.
Old man yelling at get off my grind. Yeah. Like, it's a fun, difficult game. It's just I can't split my brain that way. I have a hard enough time playing Tetris or doing the puzzle jumper.
So it's exactly the same with me, and it is. It's to some extent that I don't play a lot of twitchy games, that kind of thing. It is to some extent that, but I think the developer would benefit from looking into changing those controls because they are unnecessarily confusing. It's just like they're on purpose, not what you would expect any of the buttons to do. And so,
it shows you on screen so you can always look at it, but also your items are falling at the same time, so you might not be able to notice that. So to readjust the positioning of the brick or of your block, you use the left and right arrow keys. To rotate it, you use A and D. Which is insanity for somebody who has spent their entire gaming adulthood using WASD to move.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like it's like that one little piece right there is what threw me off so bad.
Yeah. Why not like Z and X or Q and E?
Or use
or up and down, make up and down change the orientation and back and forth move it right instead of A and D.
And then you can use shift for your soft drop and down and space for your hard drop. Like
that would be perfect. Yeah.
D is forward, A is back, W is jump. Like it would be great. Now, I'm not saying this just to be like, hey, you need to learn how controls work. Like, I love the concept of this game. Please do not get me wrong on that.
Me
it's
too.
just
Like, I wanted to like this game. Like, it does seem like an interesting game, and that's why I'm on the same boat with you. Like, if the developers do happen to see this, I would like to play your game. So
make it so that I can.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, like if they like the control scheme, maybe they just have some key mapping.
Have another option. Yeah.
Yeah, have a key map or something. And I get it. I get that this is a free game and it's still in early access. And as far as I am aware, this is
it did start off as a
first published game. Yeah, this is like your very first game that's making it out into the real world. I love it. It's adorable. I want to play more of it. I just can't. And if you do come up with a way that I can figure out how, like some of the stuff that you like when you have shit shooting at you later on, and you have to like drop blocks to protect yourself from that, and like you remember those old Flash puzzle games that like tried to fuck with you and like make you think outside the box? This game very much is that, but I can't do all three of those at once.
I understand. I see.
I'm old. I'm getting slow. That's what I gotta say.
That said, I still appreciate these free games that.
Oh yeah, no.
That are screwing
100%.
with you guys. I enjoy it myself. It entertains me.
No, I enjoyed it. I struggled with it, and that limited the enjoyment thereof.
But I feel like
I would have liked to enjoy it. I did not get
maybe I'm
far
wrong.
enough in to be able to. I just literally couldn't do anything in this game.
Tell me, Vance, how hard is it to have like key remapping? Have you is that a hard thing to do, or?
I mean,
it can be.
In Unity, it wouldn't be very hard. I don't know what they used to make this. So, if you were using Unity, it wouldn't be that hard because Unity has mapping in the engine anyway. You just tap into that. But I don't know, actually. I didn't pay attention to what they had used to make this. I mean, it shouldn't be like a really terribly difficult thing to do key remapping. It shouldn't be. Depends on what they're using.
Gotcha. All right. I was just curious. I mean, I've not tried it myself, so. The developer, by the way, is Aveo Games, and despite the old man crying at the ceiling, it is valid complaints though. Like that is kind of a weird control scheme, but that said, the idea of the game is really cool, and
it's very fresh. I love it.
To me, it seems like a pretty easy fix if that's something that you want to do since this is in early access. That's and just as a reminder, this is a free game, and even after early access, it will remain free according to the developer. So that's why we're putting in here. So good job, Aveo Games, and I can't wait to see how much you improve Debug Quest. Thank you, appreciate your service to the indie game.
No, I really liked it. I can't play it.
Yeah, and. For you for the dev out there as well, Prep in the chat says for a first game it's impressive. They came up with a new take on platforming, so that's honestly one thing I really appreciate anytime I see indie games is just coming up with something new. Especially, I mean, we talked about we had all these survival games coming up. We have the Vampire Survivor likes, these roguelikes, these things that kind of fall in a trap of these previous games that people are trying to like kind of not necessarily ride the coattails of, but they are kind of riding that wave. So it's nice to see fresh takes on different genres to shake it up. So good job. That said, it is the end of the show.
The worst part of the day on Tuesdays, which is the worst day of the week.
What did Tuesday do to you? So we just as a reminder, you can support us financially and without money, but to do it financially you can do it on Patreon. And speaking of Patreon and Prep on chat, thank you to Propasterone for supporting us on Patreon, as appreciated. And you can also subscribe on Twitch. Other ways to do it for free is by contacting us at our email address, contact@indiegameriot.net. And you can send us news stories to check out. You can send us games to check out, and things like that. It helps us not miss anything and For those of you who've ever shown up to our live streams, we're always like looking for last minute news stories. Outside of the times when there's like the Unity nonsense.
Unity shitting on.
Fuck you. So yeah, go ahead. That's a good way to help support us if you don't have the funds or just don't want to. That's fine as well. Just as a reminder too, that again, Indie Revolution Expo is coming up. If you have a game, if you know someone that has a game, go to indierevolutionexpo.com. Go to the register tab, and register said game. It is completely free. It is completely digital, so no money, no travel. Technically speaking,
no visas required, airline tickets.
Yeah, technically speaking, you don't even have to be there because we do the exhibit for you based on the information that you provide for us. That said, you should be there. We would encourage it because
you can talk about your game to an audience.
You might be able to field questions that people will have. Yeah. And then like Vance was saying, we're looking into having virtual booths this year. So when your game isn't being exhibited on stream, there's still that opportunity to show off your games there. But that said, I know people have busy schedules. If you can't, you can still sign up your game. If you are someone that has a skill or some kind of experience or knowledge that you'd like to share with the indie game community, or just an interesting topic to talk about within the indie game industry, just sign up for a presentation, a talk. We always we're looking for. I forget how many we have. Like 5 or 6 each day or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, the three of us.
These are 12-hour days. We're going to be streaming game trailers. We're going to be doing some live gameplay. We do giveaways on things. We do prizes. We have presentations and talks. Like,
awards.
It's a lot. A lot. And we would love for you to be involved.
And we'll do our own presentation too. I mean, it's a long day for us, but we're going to do one that we do every year about how to best approach press and various outlets about your game. So, just as an example. Sign up there.
Did we register for IRX yet?
Did we register? Yeah, I submitted.
We keep calling everybody else to do it, but did we?
Yeah. Go ahead and do that. And some other things just real quick. We are, again, I mentioned the live stream, so if you're watching the edited version, check out every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and come by and chat with us. It's a bunch of nonsense sometimes in between takes. It's rough around the edges, but that's what gives it character when we're doing it live.
And is it next week or the week after that we're doing it late?
It is the 19th. Where's my mouse?
The 19th?
I think it's the 19th, if I recall correctly.
Okay. So not next week, but the following.
Yeah, the 19th, we're going to be 2 hours late because we are planning on having Edmund McMillan and Tyler Glale come on the show and talk about Mugenics and just indie games in general. But because of their schedules, we have to start a couple hours late, so be aware of that. But usually it's 9 p.m. Eastern time. And those of you on the live stream, of course, we have edited versions coming out the next day. Wednesdays usually. You can find us on Twitter at Indie Game Riot. Discord, linking down below in the description and or whatever the fuck it's called on Twitch. And all that sort of stuff. So find us on socials, chat with us. Discord's probably the best way to get us in touch with us directly. I think that's it. Any last words?
I am so excited for the interview.
Yeah.
I have a list of questions. How many can I ask, and how long are we allowed to go? Like, how long have they scheduled out for this?
I believe he's free for a couple
7 hours.
Yeah, I believe he's free for a couple hours. So,
okay.
So I do know that when we've done interviews in the past, it does go long, but it's not us. It usually just turns into like a really good conversation. And
conversations,
it kind of goes out, but yeah.
Interviews tend to be our longer episodes ever.
Yeah. So get excited for that. Vance,
Can't you see the excitement on his face?
He didn't fall for it. I was hoping he would say something for his last word, but then he didn't fall for it.
This is what I look like when I'm excited.
There you go. You don't want to see him when he's angry. So yeah, say your goodbyes, gentlemen.
Have a good one, folks.
Bye.